Hey guys, I'm going to be going for one final re-clear on Dark Asura, then I'm kind of done with this Dark Visions for the month. I did a longer clear before, it did my best score so far. I've tried a few shorter clears, like a turn 3 clear, I've tried lots of options. With the units and gear I have available, a turn 3 clear is not working out. So I'm going to go back and try a longer clear again, and I'm going to optimize that instead. So I've made some small changes from my other clear. This is the team we're going to go with. So specifics I should point out are Ferris is starting in the shift form, and Bart is on Golem. Okay, so this is the team we're going to use. It's a little tricky to build. It's using some limited gear, some evasion setup, etc. But if you have the options, this may or may not be a decent clear for you to try to copy. So Reagan, make sure he is further ahead in the party slot than Zahn, because we want his base form passive, provoking, full evasion with auto buffing to shell and protect. So Wisdom of Hess, full evasion, full passive provoke. He's going to be taking the attacks in turns 1 and 2, and he's going to get the damage over time on turn 2. We don't want that going to Zahn. Shift form is also full evasion, but this one is geared for LB damage against humans. We've got double spear for the Imperil, full evasion, and then human killer. There's his setup: 4200 attack, full evasion, 295 LB, and 250 human killer. Zahn is also full passive provoke, but make sure he's behind Reagan and the party order. Full passive provoke, he needs to be death immune, full evasion, and we want him with some auto limit, auto buff to protect, as well as, if you have it, auto buff to general mitigation. So the reason for this is, on turn 2, the boss puts a damage over time magical effect on a single target. We want that to be provoked by Reagan, because he's bulkier and he's going to have a lot of bulk on turn 3 when it actually deals damage, because he's using his 90% mitigation. So we want all that going to him. But on turn 3, the boss does a single target dispel, which we obviously don't want going to Reagan. So we're going to have Zahn take over provoking when Reagan shifts on turn 3. So Zahn's going to provoke that dispel, and he's going to provoke the death attack on turn 4 with safety bit. And because he's getting dispelled and losing all his buffs and mitigation, that's why we want the auto buff to general mit and then protection, so that he can have mitigation even after being dispelled. And he's going to do the usual stuff: share, chain, etc. Bart is going to be chaining in the base form. Make sure he's on Golem, because he's going to need that for later. Base form is just chaining. He's got 4700 attack basically, and then 300 human killer. Shift form is going to be just as much bulk as we can. The whole team is going to be bleeding on turn 4. It's a physical bleed. So to minimize damage loss, we're just gearing his shift form as much bulk as possible. He's not going to be in the shift form on the kill turn, so that's fine. Make sure the whole team has auto buff to protect, by the way. So we're using another Wisdom of Hess on him for that. Ferris, base form, all about the LB damage. There we go, LB, evocation, etc. We've got, there's her relevant Esper stats. And then shift form is auto buffing. She's going to be in the base form on turn 4, which is when we take the bleed damage. So her base form is geared well. Shift form, because we're not going to be in there on any relevant turns, is not super important. But we did have some auto Esper fill and 1000 needles. We do need someone with 1000 needles turn 1 and 2. That'll be Ferris for us. So there we go. Venera, base form, again, not super important. We have auto buffing, auto Esper, and I gave her a source of regeneration with Pure Lotus. That's optional. We're going to spread regeneration just so the bleed doesn't really bother us. It's really optional, and it's not even important. I'm not sure why I'm even mentioning it, but yeah, there we go. And then we're going to be doing the shift form for her actual damage. It is locked to Dark Element, but the way I planned it, it's a little bit less headache to have her do the shift form LB, so we're just going to do the shift form LB. It might be like a small amount of damage loss versus going for the base form, because we're mixing elements instead of going pure wind with the field and all. But we're doing the shift form LB. So here we go. There's her stats: 4700 attack, 285 LB, 300 human killer. And then Edgar, Base form, you can just use a Miracle Shoes, not really super important. He's going to be in the air for the dangerous turn, so we're not really all that worried about it. Shift form, Classic Dragoon, Double Spear, Jump, Human Killer, etc. 750 jump and 300 human. Okay, so I'm going to do like maybe 2 or 3 clears, maybe variance messes me up. Or whatever. So we're gonna go for a few clears to try to check variance and get the best we can. So I'm gonna pause for a moment in case I make a mistake, and then we're gonna get going. All right, let's do our first attempt. All right, so we're gonna start off with Dignified King on Edgar. We're going to use Ferris to 1,000 Needles so that we don't get hit here. We're going to use Barch to start leveling up. We're going to Latent, we're going to level up, and we're going to imbue Wind onto Zahn. We're going to have Reagan triple cast Blade of Ares to just fill LB, mostly for Zahn, because we need Zahn's LB later in the fight. And then Venera on this turn is going to Snipe, Condemning, and Heavenly. That's so we can get some buffs to steal for Zahn. We're going to go ahead and do those right now. Alright, now Zahn will just double up. We will critical on Venera, and we will survival on Venera to steal her mana regen and her health regen. It's like I said, it's just a little bit of a small, tiny help for later. So we Mirage the first stuff. There we go. Okay, so for this turn, we're going to go ahead and shift Edgar, and we're going to do his shifted LB to put up, you know, the Imperil, the mod boost, all that goodness. We're going to do 1,000 Needles again with Ferris. We're going to do Blade of Ares again with Reagan. So now Zahn's full LB, which is what we wanted to see. Alright, Bart's is going to shift on this turn. We're going to level to 3. We're going to amplify the party and then give the party AR frames. On this turn, Venera is just going to cast her Magnus. This is because this is the turn the boss puts the damage over time effect, and we need to break the boss's magic as much as possible. So we're doing the Magnus this turn. We're going to do it again next turn because of the durations. We're just going to do it twice in a row. She's got plenty of uses. It's okay. So Zahn on this turn is going to double up. We're now going to critical on Bart, who has a good defense buff and spirit buff because of his level up, his job level ups. And then we're going to go ahead and spread because Zahn's going to be busy the rest of the fight. So we're going to go ahead and take this moment to spread. It's fine to do it now because we have all the buffs. We've got the killer, we've got the attack buff, we've got the imbue from Bart's. And then we're going to be spreading, and then, and then Ferris does her own magic buff. We don't need to spread that. So you can see here, the boss put that magical damage over time on Reagan. So it's going to actually deal the damage this turn, but now we're going to shift Reagan so that he's no longer passive provoking. And we also need him to cover the team with his special cover ability. We're going to have Edgar just go ahead and jump right now. Like I said, we're going to use Venera to Magnus again, because we're killing on turn 5, so we need to Magnus on turn 3, so the 90% break is up on turn 5. Ferris, on this turn, can just go ahead and Soldier at Pirates, and then just whatever to get herself ready. We're going to use Bart to continue getting himself ready. We're going to do Final Level Up. We're going to do Courage to face adversity to unlock Brave Blade, and then just Raging Winds again. We don't want to deal damage to the boss if we don't have to. Alright, so Zahn is going to limit here. This is going to be a double stack of Mirage. We only need 1 stack of Mirage. So you don't technically need his limit. You could like Fenrir or something. But we wanted the Esper Gauge ready for next turn. And we're going to go ahead and cover. So now that Reagan is no longer provoking, Zahn is going to get the spell attack. And then the magic attack, which should deal very minimal damage to Reagan. There we go. So now the whole team is bleeding, which is, so there's not a whole lot you can do about that. We're gonna take damage, you just gotta deal with it. So to help mitigate that though, we're going to use Golem, because it is a physical bleed, and this is gonna reduce the damage a little bit. Now Reagan is still using that magical bleed from earlier, so we're gonna go ahead and guard him, just so he takes less damage this turn. Ferris is gonna go to the base form. And we're going to do Arrow Cannon. And we're going to have Venera shift on this turn. And we're going to do more Mirage. We're going to do Shadow Serpent for Mirage. We're going to do Man-Eater to buff herself up. And we're going to do Umbral Dagger to imperil the boss to Dark. Because, like I said, we're using her Dark-locked LB this turn. Or next turn. Alright. So, we'll go ahead and Arrow Cannon for the imperil. Alright, and the boss has all these buffs and mitigations up from turn 3. So because we're killing on turn 5, next turn, we're going to use Zahn on this turn to perfect dispel those away with Black Mirror. And that leaves all our buffs, debuffs intact. And now we bled right there, but we had Golem, we had auto buffing, we had shared buffs from Zahn's level ups and all that. So overall fine. Then the death attack, Zahn's provoking it and he's immune. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now we're going to do the kill turn. So, okay, so let's see here. So we're going to use Ferris to LB. We're going to use Venera to LB. We're going to use Bart to go back to the base form, which is wearing all the DPS gear. Reagan is going to LB. Zahn is going to... Now we're going to triple with Zahn. We're going to... AR once, we need that chain count score. Also, the AR allows Reagan's LB to weave into it. And then double Absolute Mirror of Equity so that we chain with Bart's higher modifier. So Bart's is going to AR and then double Brave Blade for more modifier. Okay, so this is really tricky. I've practiced on the training dummy and it's... Reagan is the biggest headache. His LB sometimes messes up the chain. If it does, I'm just going to start the turnover. But let's go ahead and give it an attempt. So we're looking for a 119 point chain. Alright, so we start this. We drop. Alright, it looked like the chain didn't break. Okay, we did good. We did excellent. Okay, great. So how's our damage done this time? 2.5, so approximately the same damage that it did last time, but I think at this point we lost less points for damage taken because of all that mitigation stuff and the action order, I think. So, okay, a very, very tiny point increase. That was almost no gain. I went up 5 ranks. Okay, I said I was going to do 3 clears. You know what? I'm not. I'm just going to stop there. Yeah, I'm done with Dark Visions for this month. So we got a perfect score on Odin. I can't, perfect there, but we're done with him. Diablos, I got, I think 8.7 was my best. I'm just, for him, I have the right units. I'm just missing gear. Neo Laswell would help me, but also if I had the perfect team like EX3 Terra, multiple copies of Black Roselia, then I could perfect score Diablos, but I don't have that, so I can't. So him, and then for Asura, the big, huge, absolute, massive piece of the puzzle that I'm missing is Cleom and Axstar. They are such a big deal for this fight because I'm forced to bring Mastermind Zahn to spread that human killer buff, and Zahn deals 0 damage, effectively 0 damage. So because I'm forced to drag Zahn along, I've got like a dead party slot. So if I had Cleom and Axstar, I could share the human killer buff, or they share a human killer buff, and they also do a whole lot of personal damage. So that would improve my Diablos or my Asura score a large amount. I don't have her, so because of that, I have no chance to get into the top 100. I'm 165. I'm assuming that by the time Dark Visions is over in 4 days, I'll be rank 220, 250. But I'm almost certainly going to stay in the top 500, I hope. But getting to the top 100 without Cleostar, without Neovision's Laswell, just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. So I'm done. Yeah, that is it for me for Dark Visions. Hopefully we have some new content next week. Then you will see me again for that. See you guys later.